Welcome back to another Habs Weekly Recap with hockey coach Coach Frenchy directly for beautiful country on the terrain on the special edition of Monday night on the December 11, 2023. Tonight we have the boat co-host directly from Hawkesbury, Mr. Marko Laradi, and from Caveman somewhere downtown in Toronto, back in the house, Mr. Enortap. Both are in with me tonight.
Hey, Coach, just want to say, I was watching your introduction, and I don't think enough people give you credit for how slick your graphics and your music and your intros are. We're very lucky to have such a cool, very professional-looking intro for the show. So good work. I just want to remind everybody how hard you work at putting together these little
Thank you
clips.
very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, we do that. We try the best we can to bring on the table the best we countenance. But at the end of the day, you are both of you the star of the show because you bring a lot of great countenance with fun ideas. That's the reason we are all three together. 4 games in NHL right now, 3 inactive. Start the Buffalo Sabres 4-1 against Arizona Coyotes. The Islanders 3-2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Star 2-1 against the Detroit Red Wings. Busy day at the NHL office in New York, George Parros. And then we're going to talk about what's happening between the Avalanche and the Flame. We heard David Perron will be suspended for 6 games and Eric Gobranson for 1 game. But not only that, we got the Renstrom no game suspension. Again, the knee-to-knee with Kyle Connors. And then Eric Robinson get nothing for Justin Barron. So we'll talk about those situations a bit later in the show because honestly tonight we want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. Busy week last week, guys. 4 games and they finished the week with a record of 2-2. So what I'm doing for the subject of the night, guys, what we got for you on this show is, if I can find it, I'll get it. The searching consistency. This is a one word Martin St-Louis talk a lot, the surging consistency and the rebuilding of the Montreal Canadiens. So it'll be the real subject. So it's going to be complicated for Montreal Canadiens to get the consistency. So I'm going to bring this to you the next couple of minutes. And then if you follow me today, it was the first fight. It was the first goal and shootout, all for Juraj Slavkovsky. Watch my video. Talk about a little bit the progression and the development of Juraj Slavkovsky. It's not for everyone. The path, everybody have its fun path. It's funny because if you look about the first 4 draft pick on the 2022, Slavkovsky, Nemec, Jiricek, and of course Cooley. Last year, but you have this fun way they make their NHL debut at some fun time of the year. Then if you follow my Stanley Cup quiz, this is a new quiz I do every Sunday morning, guys. You can watch this one there. And it's not easy, but just remind you a couple of what happening in the NHL playoff a couple of years ago. So that's what we got for tonight's show, guys. So hopefully excited. But first of all, we do at the beginning. Now do headlines. We say hi to everybody in the chat. So welcome very quickly, guys. Going to go only say hi to Steve G from Denver, Colorado. Steve, welcome in the house. Big fans of the Colorado Avalanche. Habs Nation knocked the door with our current find comments right here. Habs Nation are doing well from Kentucky, the Bro Bowl. Alan Vaillancourt with Iran. I don't know what's happening about that. If you're a couple, your wife take for another team, and you take for another team in NHL, and she win the game. Interesting. One on the couch, one on the bed. Who knows about that? But that's happening between Allen and Iran last night.
And it makes it more fun that way, Coach. My mom used to take for anybody but Montreal. My mom would go for anybody other than Montreal just to make it interesting. Like, if the Devil was playing the Montreal Canadiens, my mom was very religious. She would still go for the Devil over the Montreal Canadiens just to make it interesting.
How about that?
Oh, my goodness.
King of Gamer, here we go, guys. We got the big signs coming very soon. I'm going to fix this next couple of minutes. Gary Conway knocked the door. Welcome back, Gary Conway. Hopefully you're doing well. The driver of the UPS, Larry Lavalley, sit on the balcony somewhere in Tucson, Arizona. Wait for the weather. It's going to be pretty nice. I think it's getting hot over there. Sharks are from Nashville Predator. Sharks, guys. I love it. I don't have the picture with me, but Sharks, guys, is 1-0 in the Bridgestone Arena. I'm saying that Yeah, but
Yeah.
take a really nice picture with Mr. Peterson of the broadcaster of the Vancouver Canucks. She works with the National before that, but Sharks find a way to get this picture with her. So I got that
Nice.
Sharks. Nice from you, my friend. Well done. You did very well. RDP from Buffalo Sabres is in the house tonight, and they have a nicer. They have a better smile tonight when you see the Sabre winning 4-1. Gary Gonnoyer. William McLary knocked the door directly from Ontario in the cold over there. I'm sure it's minus something. I wouldn't be
No,
surprised.
no.
Other Flyers are going to make the playoff, Mr. Enortap.
The Flyers, I don't think so, unfortunately.
You
I
don't
mean,
think
it'll
so?
take they're in a good position right now, but again, we have a team that's rebuilding and starting from the bottom up, and I think Briere's done a few good things so far, and he's in conjunction with Torts. I think Torts over the last year and a half has done a good job of kind of filtering through the locker room and making sure that he has the kind of players that he wants and that are motivated to play, and it's showing in spades for them so far. But there's still a long ways out.
Second Mr. Enortap and Marko is in the house tonight with all the information. Willie Snyder from Arvada, the Moose. Willie is in the house tonight. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Do you see a trend with the return of David Savard, Marco?
Yeah, well, it's a very short sample size so far. Like one game. What we hope to see with Savard being back is probably you see Gooley and Barron, who have had a pretty tough week. Maybe they get a little bit more time to kind of recoup in between shifts. Their minutes come down a little bit. So I don't think we saw the impact really in the first game, like he just kind of getting his legs under him. But I suspect it will balance things out and kind of move people back into the proper chairs.
Awesome about that one. So, what we do at the beginning of the show, guys, don't forget, first of all, to invite you. Don't forget to click on the like. That'd be great. And then we do the headlines. Tonight, we have a special headline. So, we see what happening. Let's move on for that graphic. First of all, we have the one from Mr. Marco. And Marco said on that one, Ducharme. Oh, with the
Mm.
return of Ducharme. Not the return tonight.
Ooh.
We'll see what
Yeah,
Marco
well,
have to say.
yeah. So I'm not saying that Ducharme should come back or anything like that. What I'm saying here is, for the first time, we're kind of seeing the Ducharme era Caulfield. So I don't think this is probably the poorest that we've seen Caulfield play since Martin Saint Louis joined the Habs. So it's an interesting question, right? Like everybody was all over, Ducharme saying, "Oh, look at Caulfield's numbers." As soon as Ducharme left, he started scoring, at like a, like almost like 50 goal pace. So again, like I'm not saying that he's regressed necessarily. I think what we're seeing, guys, is how they say sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. I'm trying to be positive here, right? Because we can all see that Caulfield is struggling. Like he's double clutching a lot. I liked the stretch of games that he had with Dvorak because he was handling the puck more. He was distributing the puck. But I find since he's been back with Suzuki, he's kind of back to playing that game where he's a little bit more passive, not really kind of creating as much with Suzuki. And, let's be honest, Slavkovsky is the one that's been driving that line over the last 5 games or so. But what I hope, so to be positive, what I hope we're seeing, and St. Louis has alluded to this before, is, Caulfield is trying to learn a more complete game. And sometimes when you're doing that, it takes a while to calibrate everything. And, maybe he's concentrating on doing other things on the ice, not purely focused on scoring. So maybe this is an adjustment period that we're seeing. And what we hope to see, and this is something I've said all along, right? If you have the choice between a Caulfield that scores 45 or 50 goals a year, but is useless, in terms of, two-way play, and he's not really helping the team when he's not scoring, and he's actually a minus player, or would you choose a Caulfield that plays, both sides of the puck and scores 35 to 38 goals a game? Which one would you choose? So hopefully we're kind of moving towards the Cole Caulfield that is still going to score big goals, but is going to be able to bring other elements to the game other than just being a pure sniper. So, right now I'm seeing, to me, he looks kind of like the Ducharme era Caulfield, which is not good. But hopefully we're going to see him, bring up these other elements of his game, continue, find that scoring touch again. But again, like what we want to see him is be able to be more of a puck hound. Like he's never going to win a lot of battles on the board, but he can be a lot smarter with a stick, winning one-on-one battles, making sure that he's always back checking, playing on top of the puck, things like that, right? So a little concerning. I think everybody can see that this has been a tough stretch for him, but hopefully he comes out as a butterfly, right now he's in caterpillar form. Hopefully he's gonna kind of like turn into something as when he comes out on the other end of this process, right? I don't know, Enortap, what do you think, man? Like, what have you seen from Caulfield recently?
I think you raised some very good points, Marco. I don't doubt that. I mean, I wouldn't put it at the level of when he was with Ducharme, because back then I saw a loss of confidence more than anything else, and he needed that stint to go down to sort of reorient and find his game. And then once he came back under a different coach with a different criteria for him to sort of be himself and just sort of take the game as it comes to you, we saw what he is capable of. And those are, we have to remember again, and this theme is going to be, it's been persistent all year long, and I'm going to keep hitting home on it. It's all about patience. They're young kids. They're going to make mistakes. I right now, I see him struggling. I see him perhaps doing a little bit more than he should be doing. Like he's trying to drive plays.
You mentioned the big concern that you had when Ducharme was there is that he lost his confidence. You don't see
Yes.
that he's lost some of his confidence right now. Like, especially the last game, you could see like his body language and his facial expressions. Usually he's like super jovial and everything, but can't you see it's kind of
I,
like weighing on him right now?
yeah. Um, I would rather use the word frustrated. I think he's frustrated in his game. I think he has higher expectations for himself. I think he believes in himself that he can definitely score, and we all know that he can. It's not a skill that you all of a sudden lose. So I think that that's there. As a matter of fact, when we look at the current scoring for Montreal, I think he's number 2 on the list in terms of high scorers. And he hasn't been at his usual pace. So I'm not overly concerned, but I do understand, the issues that you bring up. And part of that is because I think he's been juggled with different players, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he has to evolve his game. His game is not just about shooting and trying to score. That's a big part of it, but I think he has to be a more complete player. I do see him being more responsible defensively, and that's good to see. He's a very good skater with the puck, but he doesn't have the size sometimes to create and open opportunities himself. Like he doesn't have a body like a Slavkovsky, where he can sort of impose his physical self and get that open space that he needs. So
But
he's gonna need
yeah.
I think a little bit more uh, like a regimented line where there's defined roles, and like he's got to get himself open, yes, but he needs somebody that can feed him very well. And Suzuki can do that, but I think it's become too telepathic right now. It's Suzuki looking at him and him looking at Suzuki, and there's more to it. He's got to get the defense involved. He's got to get the winger involved.
But Slavkovsky's been giving him some good looks, man. Like I
Yes, you're
predicted,
right.
like I was explaining to you guys, about a month ago, I really think that Slavkovsky's superpower is winning battles down low and creating creative passes down low, right? That's kind of, to me, that was the thing that stood out to him most in his draft year. And that's kind of what we're starting to see now. But Caulfield is getting those chances. And so those will go in eventually, right? But the thing that
Yeah.
persists, and listen, we know Caulfield is not a big guy. He's not going to go in, battle and win battles, kind of like, like Slavkovsky or Anderson or a bigger guy. What I would like to see him be more like is Raphael Harvey Pinard, right? Like be like a dog on a bone when it comes to puck retrieval, right? Just really be a puck hound, never give up on pucks, use his stick, be relentless, right? Like he needs to add that element to his game, because whatever he doesn't have in size, he needs to make up with that in speed and drive, right? Like he needs to, when he's back checking and when he's pressuring the puck. And like St. Louis says all the time, right? From the moment you don't have the puck, you're playing defense to gain the puck back. And guys,
Yeah.
like if you watch Caulfield, if you watch him in games, he, like, I don't want to be mean, but he's a pylon. Like it's a guarantee that if a player is skating towards him with the puck, he just waves his stick at it in a very kind of lazy way, and almost like 99% of the time the player can easily maneuver around him, and then they just skate right by him. He needs to be more effective with his defensive stick, be a more of a puck hound, so that he can contribute to the rest of the line to win the puck back, so that they can go back on offense. Right. That's to me, that's what's missing in his game. Coach, what do you see? What are you seeing right now with
I
Caulfield?
think I think for me, because I tried to pick the thing you did not say. I think the word confidence. When you are a sniper in the NHL, if you don't score for time, but it's about confidence. That's where he is right now at 7.7% shooting is or below what you're supposed to be at the end. But when you don't score, you stick is getting stiff, and you try to squeeze more, and you have an opportunity. That just show exactly when you have an opportunity in front of the net, and the Buffalo Sabres game, he's right there open. He's right there. Usually, put the puck in the net, and obviously,
Yeah.
he did not do it. It is for me, it's only about confidence. So you go about this 200. We know what Martin said. We talked about him last week. I have an interview about him. I don't want to play him tonight, but he explained to him he had no worry about him. You know how he's going to score. He wants to develop his game at 200 feet, and he's getting there. And at the end of the day, Martin said we have no worries about Cole Caulfield. So we'll see how he's going to continue there. But, he need to have a better opportunity. I don't like when you shoot a puck from every angle on the ice, behind the goal line, or at the goal line, or on the from the wall. He need to open up more his one-timer shot on the power play. He should have more goal on power play. We can not make any more excuse, but at the end of the day, he had to find a way. He's the one goal there, one goal there. Maybe the Montreal maybe a record of 14, 11, whatever it is. But
Coach, that's
confidence is
my
a
point.
word for me for Cole
But,
Caulfield.
but that's my point, though, is that every goal scorer is going to go through periods like that, right? So
Slumps. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I agree. St. Louis, you're right. He said that exactly. Like Cole hasn't forgotten how to score goals, and I get that, and
No.
I agree. Like, I'm not saying he's not going to be an elite scorer in the NHL, but so to your point though, St. Louis saying like he's working on his 200-foot game. That's the part that I'm not really seeing enough progress on, because at points, if you want to be a complete hockey player, when you are going through those dry spells where you're just not going in, you need to contribute to the team in other ways, right? That's probably the biggest criticism that people had about Max Pacioretty when he was here, right? Like when he wasn't scoring, and Pacioretty he didn't have any excuse because he had a big body, he was fast, he could do all those things, right? But he was kind of a
He was floating.
one-dimensional. Yeah, he's kind of one-dimensional, right? In that sense, like there was a couple periods in his career in Montreal where he wasn't, like he played good two-way hockey, but too often that was kind of the criticism with Pacioretty, and that's what I want to see
Yeah.
from Caulfield. Again, it's natural. Goal. You're never going to be so consistent that you're scoring every game, and you're going to go through periods like this, right? But he's got to be able to contribute in other ways. And like to me, it's all about puck pursuit. It's all about being smarter with his stick, learning how to use his stick more effectively to win back pucks, angle guys so that he can direct traffic in the right place. But right now, guys, I challenge you to watch Caulfield, not just look at him like when he's scoring goals. Look at him when he doesn't have the puck, and look at him when players are challenging him or skating by him through the neutral zone or whatever else. It's so rare that he'll be able to win not a physical battle, but be able to be like being able to follow a player, just have a relentless stick, just following him and just dogging him. That's what I want to see from Caulfield, is a little bit more effort, a little bit more relentlessness when it comes to chasing down to win the puck back so that they can go back on offense.
You want to see a little bit more of Galley in him, that
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
bite.
For sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, sound good about that. We'll go to move on for the outline of Mr. Enortap. Mr. Enortap, talk about that quote, Slav
Ooh, nice.
hot
Very,
ski.
very
Yes,
nice.
and again, it's really, it's not a huge improvement, but you have to take it in stride with where this guy began and where he's at now. And one interesting comparison that I saw and read this weekend in that RDS put out was a brief comparison between Slafkovsky and Byfield. And as you know, lately in this whole year, we've been hearing about the evolution of Byfield and how he's really coming along. And I thought it was very interesting because they were selected. I think Byfield was a number 2 pick overall. Slafkovsky was a number 1. But if you look at the first 65 games that they went through, pretty much the same number of goals, exactly the same number of assists. Points are right there. I mean, obviously not on the high side, but it's not just about quantitative improvement that I look at. I look at, how has he evolved his game from last year? And when you look at the fact that, through 39 games last year before he got injured, he was averaging just under 12 minutes of ice time. This year so far, up until this point, he's up to, I think, 15 and a half. So that's one improvement. The number of hits last year, it's improved by about 0.5 hits per game. The amount of shots that have been blocked has improved by, I think it was 0.1 I read per game. And he seems to, his confidence is slowly starting to come to the surface, and you're seeing a different player. I'm seeing a more marked improvement just about in every little aspect of his game. I think he's more responsible. If you ever see, even if he makes a mistake in his own zone, he rushes back to try to cover up and back check. And those are the things that you were talking about as well, Marko, that you like to see every player get involved. It's like we're all going to make mistakes out there, but it's the player that is tenacious and doesn't lose the play just because they made a mistake that will be successful down the road. The only area I haven't seen 100%, improvement, and I think it'll come with time, is the shooting and the finishing. And again, we got to remember where he came from, right? He came from a much bigger ice rink. And he came from a situation where he probably towered over most of the players that he played with before. And the NHL comes at you at a different speed, and he's slowly starting to get used to the ice surface now. He's adapted to the lack of space and the time to shoot a little bit more effectively. But I wish he would shoot more often, because sometimes it almost looks like, and you can see it on his face, his first impulse is to say, okay, where's Caulfield? Where's Suzuki? Let me give it to them, when he's on that first line, and even when he's on another line, right? And meanwhile, he's given up an excellent opportunity himself. And I think he's still also growing into his own body. And I say that because his release is a bit awkward still in terms of his shot. You can tell his footing sometimes is off. He doesn't have the kind of edge that he could have, but he's shown signs of it, and I think it's one of those things that he will definitely come around. Like when he made that pretty much end-to-end rush from behind his own net and almost scored in Buffalo. I mean, had he scored that would have been a highlight goal for many years to come. But he's got that in him. It's just a matter of him continuing to build, and I hope that they don't mess around with him too much in terms of throwing him on different lines. He'll come around and he'll really contribute to that first line. As Marko said, I think he's pretty much driving that line right now, and it's the other two that have to sort of learn now to adapt to the way he plays and where he positions himself. and really come together as a unit and not as strictly as a pairing between Caulfield and Suzuki. So, overall, I just want to say I'm pleased so far with his evolution and his development, and I look forward to what he has to offer down the road. I mean, he's never going to be, I don't believe, he's not going to be an elite player just because you're drafted number one overall. If you look at the history of number ones that have been drafted over the years, not all number ones become super elite players. And I think this is one of those cases, unfortunately, but he's going to be a very, very effective piece. And I can't wait to see him eventually when Montreal gets into a playoff position, because this guy is the kind of guy you want in the trenches with you when you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I don't want to repeat, like, I agree with almost everything you listed out there, Enortap. Like, again, like I've been trying to trumpet here for many months, and even going to last year, that people need to understand Slavkovsky is not going to be an elite goal scorer in the NHL. I really don't believe he's going to be. Most of his points are going to be assists, and to your point, like, how often do we hear that from other teams, right? Like, oh my God, we wish that guy would just shoot more often. Sometimes that's just not in their nature, guys. That's just kind of how they see the game. They're just more facilitators, right? So, I suspect he could probably be a 20 to 25 goal scorer, but potentially he could have, like, 50 assists, right? And be somebody that, is just dominating physically. And eventually I think he'll be able to play PK and things like that, right? So I think he's going to be just a really good, complete player that is very unique, that can bring a lot of different things to a game. You're right, 100% Enortap about his two-way play. Like, remember against Nashville, there's that great play where he like laid his stiff flat on the ground to block a pass. And you're right about his back checking. He's got really, really good attention to detail. And let's just say too, guys, he's just a really nice guy. Like I've been watching a couple since he's been, kind of playing a bit better. He's done a little bit more interviews, and he just seems like the nicest guy. Just like just a sweet kid. So you're just always rooting for him
Even,
to do well.
even after
So,
even after that fight, he was very polite about it. He said,
yeah,
I
no,
kind of blacked out, and then I was getting into it."
yeah, and he's so emotional too, right? Like he's so expressive on the ice. So he's going to be a fun guy to watch. Just people need to understand what he is. Like if you think that he's going to be, and I know, Coach, we've debated this before. Like you're like, if he's not able to do, punch in 35, 40 goals doing one-timers, and then Montreal's completely wasted their pick. And I disagree. He's just not going to be that guy. Will he get one-timer goals once in a while? Sure. Like he did it against St. Louis like last year. Like we know he's capable of doing that. But it's just not, I don't think it's going to be the main thing that he's known for as a goal scorer. Maybe at the peak of his career, maybe he'll score 30, maybe, but I see him more as a 20, 25 goal scorer. But again, that can, and you're 100% right. Like and for Suzuki and Caulfield, they've been waiting for a guy like this, right? Like everybody for the last 2 years, like, it's just like a rotating door on the side of Caulfield. Like they don't have anybody to play with. They need somebody that can win pucks. Well, listen, guys, they don't have any excuses now. They have the guy. He's been handing chances to them on a silver platter for the last 5 games. Like, man, there's Coach, I think you in the play-by-play, like you nailed it right away. Like Suzuki, Slavkovsky made this amazing pass to Suzuki in the slot, and then Suzuki did it like he was right in front of the net, like open shot, and he tried to pass it to Caulfield, who wasn't in the slot, right? Like it just seems like they're way overthinking. Like, the expression sometimes, like players want to pass the puck into the net rather than shoot it in the net. That's what Suzuki and Caulfield seems like they're wanting to do. But listen, I've really enjoyed watching Slavkovsky over the last couple of weeks here, and let's moderate our expectations. Like we've known from the beginning, it's not going to be a straight line up. There's probably going to be games where he's maybe not as effective, right? But if there's one positive story, and we'll talk about what the week was for the Habs this week. Like there's not a lot of great positive stories. For sure, he's the most positive story this week, in my opinion.
It remind me
100%.
Kirby Doc when he played with Jonathan Taze and Patrick Kane. He didn't want to
Mm,
shoot a puck. He was too
yeah.
shy.
Yeah.
He was open up to them. That's the feeling I have with Sakowski right now. Like he see Caulfield, he see Zuski. He have a chance to shoot. I would pass to my teammates. And I think that's the reason why he is right now. It's just a time to be feel more comfortable with them. He's only 19 years old. I would say a little bit, Marco, don't you? I think he can go a little bit more. I would not be shy he reached the 30 goal when he's going to figure out everything. I think it's just right now. I really like when you said he is look like a good guy. I think that defined me two things about that. He had passion about the game. He loved, and the most important thing, what Martin Sylvie said all the time, Marco, he had fun on the ice, and that's the two things you need to have inside of you. And he would love to learn. He like to develop, to become better. He want to be the best version of himself, and those words coming from his mouth. That's what he said. So we have something special on the hockey player from the Montreal Canadiens. It's just a question of 2 more years, and I can wait when he's going to be like 22, 23. As a guy can definitely have a good career with the Montreal Canadiens.
And remember, the management said exactly those things. He said we didn't draft him because he's going to be the best player at 19. It's because he has the greatest ability to reach that position by the time he gets to about 24 or so. So yeah,
By the
it'll
way,
happen.
great headline too. You must have been super excited. Oh, Leafs just tied it with like 3 seconds left or something.
True to
6 seconds.
form. Another overtime game.
They
I'm
only
just
have one
looking.
more regulation win than Montreal, I think. Toronto.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just tied the game 3-3.
yeah.
All right, my light lines, guys. I have two headlines tonight, so I just make it, it's just the time of the year, Mr. Enortap, so why not do that? You have an
Plus, you're the boss,
expression, Mr.
coach.
Enortap, in Quebec said, Je me souviens. And Je me
Uh,
souviens is Mike Hoffman about that one, one over there. 8 goals this year, Mark Hoffman with 3 assists. The 8 goals that we lead the Montreal Canadiens this year as the leader of the most goal about that one over there. So if you remember, je me souviens, but, Mike Hoffman still in NHL. Honestly, he had really great goal against Vegas yesterday. Tied the game, but the first goal of the two was really impressive about that. So he can score the goal. He's a sniper. We always recognize him. The only thing he did not score is during his career is when he was a Montreal Canadian. Otherwise, he's always been that way. But it's not my headline of the day, guys. My headline of the day is more about that one. Follow the warrior. And I think Gallagher brings something unique. He considers to be the Gallagher. It's not only on the every game, but he paid a price. He go in front of the net and he does everything. Last night was really the Brendan Gallagher. The only thing he did not do yesterday, he have a goal at the end of the game. That's pretty much it. But he does everything. He carry on the team, I believe, by his energy, his passion, the warrior he bring every game, and that's where you can see he elevate his play. At the time was maybe many of his teammates was have no energy at the first 30 minutes of the game. We can call it that way, and that was the reason why I call him follow the warrior because he still have it inside of him. He bring that passion with his work ethic every game, and that's what's really impressive. What he did yesterday, what 10 shots at the net, 15 at 10, whatever it was, statistically. But I just want to share with you the performance of Brendan Gallagher um, last night for the Montreal Canadiens. So sad he didn't get a goal; he deserved it. But we wish more players go and fund the net. And sometime, guys, when you pay the price, you go in front of the net. It's not the one go in front of the net, Marco in our tap. It's the one go around. The second, third rate of the liner, we're going to call this in hockey. Remember, like Cole Caulfield scored goal, like his last goal, I believe he was, and then Kraken, I believe, or the Columbus Blue Jacket, like he got a rebound straight in front of the net. It was about 6, 7 feet after he got a stop the goalie by his pad. The puck goes straight on the stick of Caulfield, put in it. And that's what Montreal have to bring about that. That's what we would like to have more players like Gallagher go in front of net. You don't have to be on the goal on the top of the goalie, but be around the net. And if you want to have more goal in the nation, that's the reason why Montreal struggling since the beginning season, put more goal in the net. So I would like to share it with you. We can have maybe 1-2 minutes each of you talking about Gallagher.
Yeah, the nice thing I enjoyed seeing yesterday was against Nashville was the fact that he was anytime, and Nashville always plays a physical game to their credit. But anytime they were pushing around any Montreal player and Gallagher was on the ice, he was the first one in to mix it up. Yeah, at 5 foot, what is he, 9, 10? He's the first guy that gets involved. Doesn't care what the impact will be on him physically, but he's going to make sure that he's noticed out there, and he's always in front of that net. That's what has made him so successful in the past years, and it's good to see that energy, that eagerness come back in this game.
So, Coach, first thing, I just want to give a shout out to Patrick Leblanc, who had the perfect response to your first headline, which is "J'aime mieux oublier." That's I think that encapsulates my response to that headline perfectly. So, kudos
Come
to
on,
Patrick on that. Yeah,
a little Hoffman's good.
Yeah. So for Gallagher, you know what impressed me most, guys? So I think you guys are. Islanders just won in overtime. Boom. John Tavares is very sad. Oh, I don't.
He got his 1,000 point, right?
Yeah.
I think he got it.
Yeah, I think he did get
in
it.
Long Island of all places. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it both that score?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Another did it.
Yeah. They're what, 8-1 in the last 9 games. Like, pretty crazy run that they're on right now. So for Gallagher, yes, this is the Gallagher that we know and love, obviously. The only critique that I would have in Gallagher sometimes is that, yes, he always brings energy, but sometimes he can bring negative energy, like when he gets frustrated. Right. And sometimes when somebody is what I would call an influencer, right? Like, and which is what Gallagher is, you can either positively influence your teammates or you can negatively influence your teammates, right? Like if you're negatively influencing them, like if you're whining to the refs every bad call and things like that, and you're frustrated, you're slamming the door, sometimes it can just actually add negative energy. And there were parts of that last night. You could tell, like, there's a couple times he was slamming it, but like he was riding that line. I don't know if you guys remember, but at one part of the game yesterday, the referees, which were terrible, by the way, and like I don't know what was going on with those referees last night. It was one of the worst, managed games I've seen in a while, especially that first period. But I think in the beginning of the second period, the referees went to each bench and basically said, "Okay, normal, like we're done. No more screaming at the refs. No more complaining." And then there was, I think it was Nashville, Forsberg got a bench minor for screaming at the refs, right? And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I'm not sure if Gallagher is going to be able to to restrain himself for a whole 2 periods. But again, that's probably the most impressive part of the game last night, is that he channeled that energy in a positive way, which is getting into those scrums and really battling rather than yapping at the refs all night. Because to be honest, guys, I think that's probably one of the reasons why he wasn't named captain, in my opinion, is because he doesn't have a good relationship with the refs, and doesn't have a good relationship with the refs, right? And that's a really important piece when you're captain, right? So that's the fine line for Gallagher, is if he can drag his teammates into the fight with him and channel that energy in a positive way rather than being really negative and maybe kind of negatively reinforcing emotions when he's on the ice. That's when he's the most effective. And I was observing that very closely in yesterday's game, because he could have easily went the other way, because it was a very frustrating game against Nashville, right? Like they just that one line, the Gallagher line with Dvorak, they were spinning like all in front of net. They're the only ones really kind of taking the puck to the net. And it's frustrating when you're not seeing your teammates do the same thing, right? So And I could see why most of the players would have been very frustrating with the officiating last night. And usually Gallagher is somebody that can maybe get carried away when it comes to that stuff. So he is a warrior. Like I said, I love this man. I called my first dog Gallagher because I love this man. So yeah, great headline, coach.
Yeah.
Hopefully, said players like Caulfield, if they could just take even like one quarter of
Control.
passion. If Caulfield could get one quarter of the passion that that Caulfield has and the relentlessness of how to play, then the team would perform very differently.
Awesome. We have a few people knock the door. Welcome back, William. Then Luciano, Nicholas is in the house. Roger Delaney knocked the door. Thanks for being with us. Gary Connor, we mentioned him a little bit earlier. GSM stopped by. Uh, do we have a Maurice Robillard? Look, go Abs, go. Thanks so much. I think we have Patrick Leblanc too. Jimmy Beam is in the house. Jimmy, long time we don't see you, my friend. And Rabinov locked the door. Thanks so much, guys. Don't forget to have some kind of conversation in the chat. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. You are the reason why the chat is talking too much. To have a great conversation because you bring great subject over there. And that's what we got tonight. We move on. What we got on the subject tonight is I don't know about that one, but is this one? Montreal Canadiens are 2-0 this week with 1-1-0 during the weekend. Goalie performance of the weekend, guys. Only 4 goals. They stopped 95 shots they face for the save percentage of 950. I'm talking about Primo and Jake Allen. So really great performance about that. But we want to talk a little bit more about overview the week. 2-0, 12-13 Chris and begin season 6 and the Atlantic Division and 21st before the game tonight in the league and overall. So I would like to hear from you guys. You can split the game. You can go left and right, just in general, what happening, maybe the weekend. You can go from that. Let's start with Marco.
I think I'll focus, overall, listen, like I looked at the week and I don't know if you have our predictions there, coach, but I think I mentioned that I thought they were going to go 500, which they did. I think that's what I said, but I remember looking at the stretch of games at home and thinking like, it's very possible for them to play 500 hockey, in this homestand. I know
you are
that they
right,
went to
Mr. Marco. You're the winner with Runway Kings and Ghislain are the winner of the 2-2-0 last week. We're going to talk about this later, but yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll take more than one compliment throughout the show. But yeah, so I want to focus in on this weekend though because I was very disappointed. I didn't like how they played at all this weekend, and I think I was mentioning in the chat on your play-by-play last night, coach, that if somehow they would have pulled out that game in Nashville, like it would have been a miracle, right? Because if you look back at the Buffalo game, you needed Primo to come in and stand on his head, 46 saves, just a miraculous performance from Primo, like amazing bounce back game from him. And I'm sure we'll talk about him a bit later, but what a performance from him! Like great bounce back after that third period against Florida. Really, really good stuff from Primo. But overall, if you look at the game, like Montreal didn't really have too much business being in that game. If it wasn't for for Primo, I'm not sure it would have been that close. They did have some nice stretches in Buffalo, but overall, the first period of that Buffalo game, the turnovers from both teams were just out of this world, right? Like it was a fun game to watch, but my God, was it ever disorganized? And Montreal, again, like didn't really like much of their game there. With Nashville, I didn't like their first period. Again, I found on a back-to-back, it's the worst thing that you can see is referees calling like every penalty because it's impossible to get in the flow of 5-on-5 play. And I found that Montreal didn't they were, both teams were kind of like just meh in the first period. But overall, Montreal missed, really didn't take advantage of power plays in Nashville. They had a nice effort, again, like led by Gallagher, really kind of really some of the lines. Like I felt that Evans and Monahan was kind of like not really that effective, but Evans was effective on that line. The whole line itself wasn't effective, but Evans was really chasing the puck. Anderson was okay, but really it's that Dvorak line with Gallagher and Ulonen that really kind of did really well. So overall, coach, I didn't like their weekend. I found that in particular, you know how I've been kind of defending the young decor, saying that I think the young decor overall has played really well this season. And often when people blame the young decor on Montreal's really bad defensive play, it's more about the overall team that's not playing well defensively. Well, in this case, I'll have to say Barron in particular had a really tough time. I find that Gouli, I'm not sure if I think he might be playing with something, because what I've been noticing is that he's lunging a lot. Like he's not staying straight as much. He's really lunging for pucks. He's off balance a lot. He's kind of like like in martial arts, they have this style called like drunken. It's like a drunken style. Like you're still able to fight, but it's really clumsy and just kind of not really balanced on his feet over the last couple games. So I'm not sure what's going on with Gouli, but so overall, I didn't like much of what I saw this weekend. Again, like if you're looking, like the name of this show, coach, if they're chasing consistency, we've seen the standard this year, the standard that they can play in. I can't say that there were many games this whole week where we saw them play at the standard that we know that they're able to play. Certainly not for a whole game. There's little parts here and there, but overall, not enough of parts of the game to really kind of give themselves a chance to win. Any points that we got this week, you can pretty much thank the goaltending for all of it. So, not liking what I saw this week.
Yeah, that's the reason I said searching consistency, because what Martin said, we talk all the time at the press conference. So I'm going to elaborate a little bit more after that. Mr. Enortap.
I'm not so sure I would classify it as the entire week was a write-off. I think the key thing, you hit it at the end, Marco, when you said that certainly there wasn't any persistent level of consistency in their play. Like you look at that Buffalo game, and even though we were outshot, I think it was something like 17-7 in the first, we came out of it with a 2-0 lead. That doesn't mean that they played well, but they did execute. Second period, they came out a lot better. They outshot Buffalo by a wide margin, and at that point, I thought, as well as Montebo played, I thought Levi kept them in for quite a while. He made some really good saves and kept that score 2-0. If Montreal would have scored that third goal, and I think Coach had alluded to it, they either had a power play and I don't know if it was a 5-on-3, and they didn't capitalize. Buffalo killed it off, and that would have been the dagger. If they could have scored that third goal, I think they would have been okay. We saw. I mean, shootout, of course, is not part of the game, but you have to win them. And I thought we saw 3 great goals in Caulfield, the Yolonen, and then Slavkovsky to win it. So it was a feel-good story from that perspective. The overtime, it was what it was. I thought it was kind of boring. I thought maybe you're right. The goaltending sort of has kept them in there going, but they've got to find that consistency game in and game out. You cannot play even 2 periods out of 3. You can't take time off. And for me, what's killing them is the special teams. They're getting power plays, and it looks like they're building momentum on 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 sometimes. And it's they're getting it for like rolls of 5 to 8 minutes. Then they get a power play, and all of a sudden they manage to get 1 or 2 shots on net, and they weren't really quality. They're probably peripheral shots on net, and they become a little bit dejected. They come down. It almost takes away from that momentum that they're building, and that's hard to see. The thing that's really sort of, I don't know if I want to use the word panicked, but I don't like seeing, is their passing. It's been horrific. I cannot believe how many pucks they're putting in other players' skates or behind them so that they have to reach for the puck.
Do you mean on the power play specifically?
Not just there. It's been consistent throughout. I find that they're not crisp with their passes. I think the defensive core has done a good job of like jumping into the play when they have to. Guys like Barron, sometimes Kovacevic is up there. Of course, Matheson whenever he gets the opportunity. So that part is good. But it's just they need to be a little bit more patient. They need to be more. Uh, they have to have attention to details, and passing is a key thing because as much as I've been proud of them that they've been winning almost every single game in the on the faceoff dot, it's useless to have winning percentage on the power play if you're going to lose it because you make a bad pass afterwards. You're not winning the possession game anymore, and that's the key thing that they have to really adapt to. A team that's has possession should be winning more games than they are. Could they have come like I had predicted 3-1? I had hoped that yesterday would have been that three, but they didn't. But you know what? 2-2 is not bad. I'll take it for now, and see if they can go forward from here.
But Enortap, are you really happy with what you're seeing on like? Let's not even worry about wins and points, right? Because we know that's secondary. Overall, though,
I
like,
think
are you really happy with what you're seeing on the ice from them? Like, I don't know.
when they're putting on the pressure, when they're playing at the peak of their game, I think it looks good, obviously. Like yesterday, we saw a strong third period. I thought they came from behind in that game as well. I thought they were all over them at certain points. They just couldn't execute. And that was the
Just one,
problem.
only
So,
the Dvorak, man.
so
Only the Dvorak.
when you see that, right? When you see that, you take pleasure. You see this going somewhere positive. It's when they can't execute on a power play, then they can't make that crisp pass, and that's what kills me sometimes. And you say there's a lot of work to be done here. So it's the consistency that really has me sort of dragged down in in the dark areas for Montreal. But I think it'll come. But they just don't have when you consider, and we forget about this sometimes. You consider the injuries that they've had and are continuing to have. Um, you
I
know,
don't
you're
think that.
putting kids in,
I
but you're
don't think
putting
that.
kids in you're
Sorry, go
putting
ahead.
kids in a situation where it takes time for them to adapt, right? Like Struble, when he came up, he's been doing a great job. I think he's been reliable. He, I mean, he doesn't have. He's a very physical player. He doesn't use his body as much as I would like to see him use it because I think he's very strong. But he's been consistent with that, and it's going to be hard for him to be sent back down. But there's other players that are coming up, and you see like Richard. You see sometimes um, uh, moments where he looks good, and then other moments you don't notice him at all. And I don't blame him because it's a hard position to be put in and expect to do well and pick up for somebody like a Doc or somebody else that's out of the lineup. It's unfair. What do you think, Coach?
A great point. About it's I refer Martin St. said searching consistency is very hard when you have a young team when you're rebuilding. So it's a roller coaster. They can show you flash some flash there and there, and then after that they disappear. They lost the track of the checking example. They take a little bit more risk where they should not take a risk. Don't play the puck, chasing the puck, and recover the puck when you battle. The biggest problem for me during the weekend it was the battle 1 versus 1. The
Yes.
stat is about 30-35%. This is really an area where they need to improve the next couple of games. I think they will work on it about that. But again, when you have a young team, that's happening. And the recipes to win those games this weekend, but it's easy. Have a great start of the game. Take and play a better first period. That's what they struggled many times. But if you want to win a game, play at the beginning of the game. Start to win the first goal of the game, first of all. Secondly, try to get at least a power play goal. If you look about the last couple of games, they lost, okay, the Kings 4-0. But again, about Buffalo, we have no reason to go in the shootout. If they can finishing this, they get a goal in the power play, and then they get a goal last night in the power play. They have the opportunity yesterday. and that they didn't take advantage of the 4 versus 3 again for about 149 second, I think so, and they take a bad decision. So this put this all together. That's what Martin said. We talk about consistency, and then talk about the fact like it's a young team rebuilding, and that's a part of the process of what they understand about that. You're right. Second pairing struggled this week. Coley and Byron
Yeah.
together have a really difficult week both together. But that's the process. The goaltending guys are there all week. Great performance of the goaltending, but the special thing are not there. And that was
No.
difficult game overall. It's a concept of the consistency night after night. If you apply this, you play 60 minutes. It does not. Then we can go with the TOI and Nick Zuski example. The TOI at front plus on the second period, where they stay one more extra shift. You turn around to be an extra 30 seconds. I will give you a power play number one at some point out on the ice for about 48 to 52 seconds. They have a icing per opponent team. They decide to stay on the ice. Now they move from 48 seconds to 52 to 133. So you have an extra 30 seconds there, but you have no you max right there. It's about
No
management,
gas.
your theories. That's something you have to be.
Coach, I think you've mentioned this before, right? And is that and Enortap, you were mentioning about lack of execution. Like let's not worry about the power play, but even 5-on-5, right? Like just missing passes, poor
Yeah.
execution. The reason for that, and coach, you've mentioned this before, and I 100% agree, is that they're too tired. They're defending. Again, I keep coming back to this. It's the stupid man-on-man system that they have in their own zone. They're running around. They're expending all their energy in the defensive zone. Finally, you're ready. You somehow miraculously get out of your zone. You have no more energy left to go out and attack because you've just been circling around your zone, running after players for at least 30, 40 seconds, right? So either you have a disjointed line because half the line is changing because they're tired. You have one guy that's carrying the puck. You have disjointed lines in the middle of a change when you have a rush opportunity, things like that, right? So I get it, coach. Like they're seeking consistency, but I think Nicholas made this really great point here in the chat. Without structure, there is no core or base game to fall back on, and it's tough for any player, but even harder on younger players. Nicholas, that's such a good point. Is that how many other good teams in the league, guys, have injuries to core players, but the culture is so strong and the system is so strong that they're able to plug in another player. And of course, that those players are not going to produce at the same level, and they might have a little bit of dip of performance, but overall, they're playing the same way. They're sticking to their structure, right? So I think part of the consistency is St. Louis needs to look at their systems, and are the systems allowing the players to play consistently a certain way? Like, and
See,
guys, we like the last thing, like I said this during the summer, they fired the whole medical staff because Montreal keeps getting injuries. Okay. Well, what's happening again this year? Brand new trainers. But guess what hasn't changed? We're still chasing, spend too much time in our own zone, blocking shots, chasing pucks, things like that. And what happens is players get tired, they're blocking shots, and you get injured. Like look at the new hook play. It doesn't, you can say, oh, it's just a bad luck play. But sometimes players they make bad decisions on the ice. Their reflexes are just slightly off because they've been chasing
they're
or
fatigued.
using their energy in other ways, right? So sometimes,
Yeah.
yes, it's very simple to say, oh, well, that injury is just a total freakish thing. But sometimes players, when they're worn down from running around and wasting energy, that's why you have a system. It's like AI, right? Like why is AI so useful to humans? Because it can automate things. It can make things easier for people, right? Well, that's what systems are for. Systems are made to help us when humans break down. When individual mistakes happen, the system is there so that we can quickly go back to the system and try to fix things. So I know I've been pounding on this
When
hammer since training camp, but they have to get rid of this man on man coverage system. It's
Hey
just not
guys,
working.
they don't play man to
Mark,
man.
Yes, they do. In the
no,
Wait,
they
routine.
wait,
do.
wait,
They
wait,
do
wait,
a lot.
wait. You had a puck in the corner. Who is in the corner? The puck
It
is at the
depends.
blue line. Who is at the blue
Defensive.
line?
That's man on man. Like you see
No.
defensemen going
Is it
right up to the
Caden
blue
Coley
line.
go at the blue line? Cover the guy?
Yes,
No.
absolutely. I've seen that. Yes,
I know.
absolutely.
You
Eh,
know.
oui.
You know. He's not going to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
cover the guy in front of the net. He's going to be in front of the net. The puck go in the corner. You're going to have 2 3 players there. You have a center and 2 defensemen over there. Everything like that. I don't say they don't play to man. They switch for the D to man to man. After that, they back again to a box plus one. That's what you do constantly about that. But for you guys, you see a man to man. A man to man guy is a defenseman will follow one specific player and you chase him all the time on defensive zone. This is a man
That's
to
what I've
man.
seen.
But they
That's what
switch
I've seen.
players all the time. They cover the guy in the left corner, they stay with the guy in the left corner. They go in the right corner, they cover the guys over there. And I sent you a video right there. Sakoski lost his man over there. It was just because he was tired to be on the ice. But my point there, they switch constantly that system and the defensive zone, man to man, right? After that, they go back to the box plus one. Check about this weekend. The puck go in the corner. The guy go there. They're going to have two players go right there. And they're going to bring theirs with us. It's
Yeah,
not like a man to man. A man to man is okay. I have the 46. I follow 46 overall. You have a guy, you're going to, how many times you see Caulfield ski in front of the net?
How many times do you see Suzuki and Caulfield in front of the net?
Yeah, to defend the opponent players.
I see. Yeah, well, it depends who they're covering.
But
That's
it's
the
man to
problem.
man, Marco. And man to man, you follow your Suzuki cover Matthews. But Suzuki should be in front of the net with Matthews, but he's not.
But that's the problem. But that's what you see. I agree with part of what you're saying. The where the man to man system breaks down is when teams,
They
like
lose
when they
this
bring
guy.
their
That
high,
because they lose a guy is a miscommunication after that.
or when teams are switching, right? When they make switches, when D men start pinching, when forwards go up to the blue line to draw another player in, then a guy has to make a quick decision. Okay, am I following that guy? Another then like we've seen so many goals like that. Like there was one I can think of exactly where Monahan had a guy, but then Gouli decided to follow him all the way up to the blue line, and then Monahan has no one in front of the net. And I think it was a French. It was Veleno again in Detroit. He was completely wide open on the side of the net because Detroit brought their guy high up into the zone. Gouli chased him up when Monahan already had that guy, and that's where man on man breaks down.
All right,
And
Marco,
that's
check that one. Check this one. All right,
yeah.
let me check. They're going to go over us, guys, but this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to reset everything. Hold on here. All right, go back
Yeah.
here. All right,
Okay.
now we are at the beginning of this video.
Okay.
We have man to man right now. The guy Byron
it's
go
man to
behind the
man.
net. You have the defenseman on the side. All right, and you have the guy in front of the net over there. Now we turn around, we losing the puck right there. Right, pressure by the national. Now Sekoski with this guy over there. Now the 2 forward on the top. Byron cover the guy over there. It's good to consider this as a man to man.
Yeah,
Now,
but coach, whoa. Look at Monahan. Monahan, like if you're saying he's covering that point guy, look where he is. He was looking at the player that Slavkovsky was
yeah,
covering.
because you have a turnover over there. That's what he happening about that. You have a
That's not
turnover
man
on
on
the
man.
corner. But look about that play. The puck go back at the D over there. Now when he react, Monet is going over there. But look the Sakoski what he does on the wall. He do a big turn over there. He loses 2 men right there. Because Sakoski is on the ice for over 1 minute over there. And that open up here. Here we go. Sakoski have no, he's dead.
Nobody.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, that's coach. We're saying the same thing. That's when man on man sucks because if one guy makes a mistake like that, then it all breaks down. So you're making my point for me.
But that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point. The
No, that's
D, it's about the communication. You have to be sure you have the communication with that. But you have to you have to restart right away. You have to figure out everything. It's a concept of 5 players on the ice about that. On that play, it was a man to man. That's my point here. It was a man to man
yeah,
about that. But usually it's
yeah,
turn
yeah.
around to be attacked. Now everything turn around to be a bad play by the defenseman, a turnover by the Nashville Predator when they put some pressure on defensive zone.
So, coach, if you don't mind, like maybe next time, if you could show us, because I just don't see a system where they move away from a man to man and like collapse into a box, which is what I consider more of a hybrid
If you want
defensive
to
zone.
look about this,
No,
usually it's when the
he's
puck
talking about
go
a penalty kill.
when the puck go at the blue line and they send the puck in the corner, and the puck stuck in the corner, you're going to have now that box +1. If you want to pay at more a bit of attention, it's like that way. So it's a man-to-man, it's a free for a while, and then the puck goes to one area, and now they
More
have
of
a
like,
battle in the one area, and now you're going to have other players join. Look about the box is going to create a little bit a box +1 over there.
isn't
Usually.
that a swarm? Isn't that a swarm when you go in the corner?
So again,
Isn't it called a swarm
what
when
the
you go in the?
swarm is called the swarm about this is the swarm when you bring two defensemen +1, or you bring two players +1 over there. You bring that usually Gallagher cover the front net, or a winger cover the front net over there. That's a swarm over there. They call this like a swarm about that.
Yeah, you know what? I totally see what Marco's getting at, because the thing is, man to man works effectively if you have the right kind of personnel, and you need really speedy skaters, and we don't have that right now. We have a couple that can handle that. And as Marco said, a man to man, if one player makes a mistake, it's harder to cover up that mistake than it is if you're in a zone, right? And that's why they should be. I think they should be mixing it up a little bit more, just to even keep the team on their toes,
Do we
and
do
have
we
to
know
change their style.
do we know if any teams have ever won a championship playing a man on man defense in the NHL?
So again,
Do we have
Well,
any evidence that
St. Louis Blues.
they
Colorado
played a
too. A couple
man?
years when
St. Louis
Colorado
Blues did a
won.
man-to-man. Petrangelo guy was at the line,
Yeah,
follow everybody left and right about that. Their defenseman was covered all the way. But again,
but
like
they
Marco and
they
Artap
have
said,
the
you have to be
personnel.
sure of a
They have the
communication.
personnel, coach.
What?
They had the personnel to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
to
yeah.
do
Yeah,
that.
of course,
That's the
you have
difference.
to have the right. I'm not disagree with that part, but he said who did it. I think the St. Louis Blues about that one over there. But here we go, guys. That's happening about this. Going to move on. We hit the 10-10 about this. Don't forget everybody to click on the likes. That'd be awesome. Uh, Montreal Canadiens, guys, this is not a good information. 2-1 at home, 1-2-1 and at home this month, and they are 2-1 in this December, beginning of December. They play two more games this week at Pittsburgh and Islanders at home, and then the last 6 game of the road is on the road. So not looking good if you think about that. We'll see how they're going to respond for the rest of the month. 8 more games to play in December. Weekly
Even teams that are-
report news around the league, guys. Jekai was sent to Laval during the week. We have a question from Alan in the chat asking you, when do you expect Jekai to return with the Montreal Canadiens? Marco,
I'll let Enortap answer all Jack-Eye questions.
He'll be back. Don't worry. I mean, if there's one thing that stood out yesterday alone, is that they need him in that lineup, just for physical
who do you
presence.
remove?
Yeah. So
Well, I think
that
at this point it would have to be uh,
Strobel?
Struble?
no, not Struble. The one they got from Detroit. What's his name again?
Well,
No, he's
Steve-
already out.
He's already out of the
He's-
lineup.
he's-
You're just going to bring Jack-Eye to play.
Now
sit
you
on
have
the
to remove Barron, Kovacevic, or Cooley.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. It's
And to be honest, I
not
heard
an
that.
easy choice.
I watched a lot of different shows today, and I heard a lot of people talk about that today. How Montreal got pushed around this weekend, and they needed Jack-Eye and everything else. But guys, yeah, it was a physical game, but I felt that overall, like there was good team toughness there. Like I didn't see any time
There
where
was
like
the point.
again, I'm not. Yes, does Jack-Eye have? I think he's going to be a very useful player. Everybody knows I like Jack-Eye. We have too many left-handed defensemen. That's very well documented. So something needs to be done there at some point. Do I feel that he's going to be? My position, guys. I would love to see him converted as a winger, because then you could have him play as physical as. Imagine Jack-Eye on the forecheck, guys. My God, he would be an absolute juggernaut.
Not a good
In the-
news, Marco.
What?
His speed.
Not a good news. He's going to be suspended.
Come on.
No,
No,
I think
I
he.
don't think
I'm
so. I
talking
think
about
he
what
can.
happens on the weekend, like how the
Oh,
Oh,
forechecking happenings on the weekend. That's my point.
oh yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. I know, I see what you mean.
yeah,
But like
yeah,
to me, and especially if you have a guy that you think is going to get into and like be an enforcer, like Jack is going to play that role. If you're going to have a guy that's going to play that role, you would much rather him be playing forward because you don't want to be down a defenseman for like 5 or 10 minutes if he's instigating or something, right? So
yeah.
it's very rare
You
that
have more
he's
flexibility with your forwards. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. So to
But
me,
but
that's a great
the
way.
thing, yeah, the thing is, and the reason why I brought it up that they need him is not so much for the fighting. I think that once he's in the lineup, I think he establishes a certain presence for the team. The team plays
Sure.
a little bit taller. I think there's more ice available for them. I don't think other teams take as much, even though we did, you're right, that we did respond as a team. We did respond to any kind of roughness that was going on. But I would go a step further and say that roughness wouldn't have happened in the first place if he was on the ice.
I never buy that, guys. Like I don't think one player is
I don't
always
know.
because again he's got to be on the ice. He's got to be on the ice to make a difference. Like just look at Ryan Reeves. Is Ryan Reeves really a deterrent because he's not ever
But
on the
he's a
ice?
defense. But he's a
Yeah,
defenseman.
I get it,
it's a big
but again,
difference. You play
yeah. So
you play
listen,
more
like,
ice time, right?
do I think Jacky is going to? Oh, breaking news!
Oh,
We have
breaking
a
news.
breaking news. We have a breaking news. Thomas Tatar scored his first goal with the Colorado Avalanche tonight.
I thought you were going to
Wow,
say Druin.
I thought you were going to give me a Mike Hoffman update there for a second.
Hey, it was
Yeah,
straight to Montreal, Marco.
Oh, oh man,
yeah. That's
Tatar first
exactly what
goal. How about that?
good for him. Good for Thomas. We love Thomas Tatar.
You know what? His teammate was very happy about like they was jumping
Yeah,
on
yeah.
him, so it's good to see that.
He's a very popular guy for sure.
Yeah,
Great guy.
sorry about that.
Yeah. So let's move on here. So we got Pearson out 6 weeks. I think he had been having a bit of a struggle, a bit of a resurgence. He's playing a little bit better, but I didn't like him. I didn't like how he was being deployed. Like I hated that line with Dvorak, Pearson, and Gallagher together. Just no speed on that line. So it's a great opportunity for Ylonen to jump up into the lineup. I think he definitely deserves the opportunity. So happy to see that.
100%.
Yeah, it's too bad. I think Pearson broke his finger. We know he's got a lot of issues with his hands over the last little while. So hopefully he's able to come back and play some games. Maybe we can flip him for like a 4th-round pick or something like that at the deadline. That would be nice. But not a huge loss for Pearson. I think it's a good opportunity for Ylonen to move up the lineup.
Well said about that. And who do you call up for Pearson?
Guys, I still can't believe that. Like I've watched a couple of Laval games. I think they need to get rid of one of their 50 contracts and they need to sign Gignac to like an NHL 2-way contract because he's the guy that needs to be called up. He's to
Yeah, but
me
he's a wing. He is a center.
he can play the wing too. For sure he can play the wing. To
You
Well,
me
could,
he's
yeah, but you
we've
better
been
to
doing it all.
develop a players like in the future. For me, I would disagree. I would say that Emil Eneman
he
have to be
hasn't
there.
played well enough yet, though. He needs like
He hasn't
you got
played
to have.
long enough.
Yeah, he hasn't played long enough and he hasn't played well enough. Like I love the call-ups that Montreal's done so far because it's been merit-based. And I think that's really important, guys. Like in when you're developing a culture, especially when it comes for call-ups, if I'm a guy and if I'm Gignac or if I'm any of the young players and I see somebody that's getting called up just because they're a draft pick or they're a higher touted prospect, it's not a good message. And I think Gignac, he's been for me the most consistent forward for Laval this year by far, and he brings good versatility to the lineup. So if it was me, I would definitely you need to. It's the two biggest problems right now with Laval. As the biggest one for sure is they need, like you've talked about, Coach, all the time, is they need like a capable veteran goalie to release a little bit of pressure from Dobesh so that he can play with more of a clear mind, and not feel so much pressure down there. And they need to be able to reward the players like Gignac and give those guys opportunities. That would be the
Gignac, is
person.
it your future?
Yeah,
No,
it's not going to happen this year, I don't think.
Well, so that's my point
Unfortunately,
behind that. Why to give him a contract NHL to spend a contract when you're now going to be what 47, 48, close to 50?
hmm
Then you have to sign Hudson at the end of the season. Maybe you have to sign Engstrom at the end of the season.
as I
Uh,
said, you got to.
at limit
I would
then,
move
and at
out
the
another
trade line,
contract.
maybe have a new contract. I think that would be not the right things to do.
I would move out another two-way contract. Like I'm not saying add another net new contract, but is Baudin, for example, he's like on a two-way contract. He's not really a part of the future either. We have so many left-handed D. I would just move Baudin, sign Gignac. I know he's not part of the future, coach, but again, that's what I like that they didn't call up Joshua Roy because he's not ready. Just let them go to like it's kind of like
Well,
you
me, I
don't
would
bring
call up. I know he's hurt, but Anderson, yes, Anderson, or I would call Emil Eneman before I call Gignac or Davidson or whatever they are.
well,
We have
Davidson.
already
but I think
Spice Center in Montreal now with Stephens. So
Yeah.
you have to use guys. We're on the bad shape. We have to use Jake Evans on the second line.
no, I know
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
going to work. I mean they could bring up Lucas Candata on the left wing. I mean, he hasn't been performing poorly, but I agree. I mean, Gignac is the obvious one, but I don't
Yeah,
think
oh
that
yeah,
they're going to
of
waste.
course, of
I, don't-
course.
I don't think it's going to happen that they're going to sign him this year. That's the issue. So, I mean, he comes off the table because of that, in my eyes. And you're
But
right. I think Waugh's better left down in Laval for this year.
don't you want to reward a guy that's working hard and performing on your like look what they did with Belzil, right? Like
It's because you have no contract,
No, come.
Marco. You have a contract that's in repair because you have no contract.
Yeah,
That's the reason behind that. We
I
all agree
understand.
here, you and me, everybody in the chat, that Gignac deserve it. We know that.
Yeah.
He's just like right
oh
now.
yeah,
Canto that would be called up before because you have a contract.
But no, but make it up, make it happen. Like you just like I said, you have guys that are aren't there guys with two-way NHL contracts that are playing for like the ECHL right now? Like they have too many contracts. We've already established that. There's got to be a way to move one of those contracts that's not like a Baudin. Like I said, that would be the perfect guy that I would look to move. To make room to give him a contract. That way, you're not adding another contract. I agree with you. You don't want to add more contracts. We already have too many,
yeah,
especially with these young players that we're going to need to sign for entry level contracts towards the end of this season. So they're going to need to move some of these bodies because there's just too many. But to me, it's all part. If we want culture, if we want to establish culture, a culture of merit, then to me, you want to reward guys like that. I think it's so important.
All right,
no, that's
let's
a
move on.
valid
What we got
point.
tonight,
I
guys.
disagree.
It was complicated. The word complicated. So I'm going to bring to you guys for the next 20 minutes. It's complicated. So I'll ask you, what do you do if you can use the situation? Jake Allen, Kaden Primo just make everything more complicated with their performance during the weekend, and then Samuel Montembeau have a W and loss during the. Then he's going to be returning Wednesday, I believe, and then you're going to have one other goalie Saturday. Normally, you should bring back Montembeau if he won Wednesday, and you bring him Saturday, and that bring the Montreal Canadiens to play only Monday, I believe, and that bring now over like 10 days, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days for Primo and Jake Allen approximately. So it's complicated.
Yeah, very complicated. A
It's
couple things to mention. Couple things to mention. So apparently, Ken Holland was in Montreal watching the game last night, watching Allen. Infer what you want about that. So Ken Holland is confirmed he was in Montreal watching the game last night. I think Edmonton would be crazy if they think Jake Allen is the solution to their goaltending. Hey, I hope he thinks that. I think that would be a great move for us. Even if we get like a fourth round pick for Jake Allen, I would absolutely do that right now. But I don't. I would be shocked if that happens. But I get a feeling something is going to happen here soonish. I think Kent Hughes. I think he's been pretty patient, but at this point, I think you're right, Coach. Like there's not going to be as many games to share around over the next while, and it's going to become even more complicated. Like it's one thing when you have a lot of games because you can get everybody involved, but this is going to get a lot more complicated. One thing I would add, though, there was this great story. I don't know if you saw Onjao's today, Coach, but I think it was Stefan Waite that told an amazing story about Jake Allen that I had never heard before. But this is the kind of teammate that Jake Allen is. It's such a great story. So when Montembeault got chose for the Canadian team last year, Montreal got eliminated pretty early, right? Jake Allen actually went and offered for Montembeault to work with him. They actually went and rented ice, and Jake Allen basically helped him train for the tournament for Team Canada, right? So really great story. Really shows kind of what kind of teammate Jake Allen is. But guys, the wheel keeps on turning, right? Like I think he's definitely left like a nice legacy in Montreal. But at the end of the day, like, to me, they have to move Allen at this point. Like, I know, Coach, you don't love the idea. I think yesterday you were asking how many teams have a duo of goaltenders that are that young or that have like a backup that's under, say, 24 years old. I guess there's not that
Well,
many.
I'm not saying
It's
like they
the
cannot
injury.
trade him. I just said like they
No,
have to be sure they have another
about the
goaltender
injury.
behind that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
once you do that, then I think there's a number of guys that you can go target to play in the AHL. Like you talked about, like a Louis Domingue, or even if you need to go to Europe, like just get somebody that is a little bit more experienced. There's got to be a way. You get like another kind of guy that has that experience, like a Hammond kind of guy that they got a couple years ago, just to finish the year. There's got to be some guys like that kicking around the AHL that they can get once they move Allen. So, Kent Hughes needs to get creative, whether it means you take another contract, another bad contract back, as long as it doesn't have term on it, like as long as it's an expiring contract,
That's
then you need to
exactly
get,
what they're going to have to do.
yeah,
That's exactly what they're going to have to do. Like you cannot keep going this way, especially with two of the goalies being as young as they are. They need to be in there as often as they can be. Unfortunately, Allen is the odd one out. The problem being the contract. I think he would have been gone by now if he was making, let's say, even $2 million. He would have been picked up as well. But it's gonna. I think you at the end you hit the nail on the head when you said they're gonna have to take back a bad contract. Um, I'm not saying this in particular, but something like this, where you take somebody like Jones from the Leafs to come with you, and hopefully they're going to have to throw in a pick, a high pick, a second maybe with that in order to accommodate Allen, who would make a little bit less than Jones at this point, and I think it'll be. I think it'll be good for them. I think that's what's taking time, as Hughes is trying to sort of finagle that a little bit and see if he can make something out of nothing, because he doesn't want to just lose him for nothing. So we'll see. We'll see. But I keep saying it every week. I think it's going to be done soon, and yet here we go. Every week we're talking
yeah.
pretty much about
But
the
now
same
it's
thing.
worse. Like, because like I said, because of the amount of games that they've been playing, they're able to kind of keep everybody in, keep everybody happy. There's enough games. But now, until this road trip, like it's going to be a slow week, only 2 games this week. So it's going to be a bit harder. For those of people saying, just put Allen on waivers, they're never going to do that. Like if they
No,
were willing, like Kent Hughes is a former agent, and his reputation, I know some people might think that this is the wrong way to do business. Like, oh, you're bending over backwards to accommodate someone. Like it's, who's calling the shots, like all those kinds of things. But it's an investment that they're making in their reputation in the NHL. When it comes to signing free agents, they want to be
but
known
also
as a team that treats their players in a high class manner. Sending a guy like that's really well respected, that's like I said, really, spent that time with Montembeault in the offseason. Like he does all the right things. It just sends a really bad message, not only on the team, but across the league. If you're going to do that, Joel Armia is not the same guy as Allen, right? Like, yes, he's a veteran in the NHL. even that, I'm sure they would have liked to do something else if they could have with Armia going down. But it's not something you want to do all the time, or else you can easily become like a Vegas. Vegas, it was almost getting that reputation for a while, how they didn't really treat their players really well. That's not
Yeah.
where you want to end up being.
It's about the culture that they've worked so hard to try to build, right? One
Yeah.
action like that can really throw things off, and it's not like Hughes to do that. It's not in his nature.
All right, let's move on for my next complication live. It's complicated. Suzuki Caulfield, 5 versus 5 power play TOI. They all reached their ceiling at $8 million. Is it the kind of player is going to be only 30 goal, 25 goal, and 60 points, 66 points? Where you at? Because this change the map or the template I can use.
Yeah,
It's
Coach.
their problem.
Yeah, like I saw you, I think I saw a couple of your shows where you brought this up this week. Like I'm not that concerned. Like, don't get me wrong, I've already been very vocal
Vincent
on this.
Danforth is really concerned about that.
Well, I'm very so okay. Let me be clear. I'm not happy with how they're playing right now. I think I've been very vocal about that. Right, like I don't like Suzuki's engagement right now. I think I said in your chat yesterday, Coach. Yes, it's nice that Suzuki has an Ironman streak, but how many times do you see Suzuki block a shot? So
Every second
just
game.
saying, yeah, not too often though. Like, so I'd like to see Suzuki a bit more engaged for sure. I've talked about Caulfield in the show about how I'd like him to be more engaged with his stick, become a more. So listen, I'm not saying that I'm super happy with their overall play this year, but like I've said before, I think a winning team, like, I keep using, I know they're not Patrice Bergeron. I know Suzuki is not Patrice Bergeron, right? But everybody thinks Patrice Bergeron was an elite player, correct? Well, what's the highest points that Bergeron ever had in a season? Like 80 points or something like that? He averaged in the 70s, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if Suzuki, I think if he's a 75-point player, but is a plus player and plays the right way, I think $8 million, you can't forget, Coach, like you were comparing him to Trocheck and players like that. Well, don't forget, like we've bought all these years
But
of
now,
free
do you
agents.
put him at first center or second center?
Well,
Well,
right
I
now
think,
he's the first center right now because we don't have the personnel to fill those shoes
But
right
do you
now.
want to pay your
I
second center $8 million?
yeah, like I think that's fine.
I
Like I think
if he
Montreal is
gets
not
you
going to have.
if he
Go
gets
ahead.
you sorry if he gets you 75 80 points on the second line, it's well worth it.
He never going to reach 80 points second line.
No, he's not going to be second line, guys. If he's a
If
75
he have
point
first
player,
line, Marco, we are in trouble.
why is that? Did the
Because
Bruins win?
because you cannot
Why?
win any Stanley Cup with their center at 60 points.
Ask that to Patrice
You cannot
Bergeron.
make that the long run playoff with 60 points.
No,
Well, okay,
we
we
go
just went
back
from
to
75 to
needing an
60.
elite player.
You just went from 75 to 60. That's a big change. So again, 75 points as a first line center, who
Okay.
is a good two-way center. I'm saying Suzuki has some commitment and development to do to get there. I'm not saying he's there right now, but if they've projected him to be a good two-way center that can bring you 75 points, play well defensively, he's had success in the playoffs. Let's not forget, Suzuki's made it to a Stanley Cup final as a second line
Yeah,
center because Nuno was playing first line center. But now with more maturity, better surrounding cast, you hope with other players they're going to bring in, he's going to be your first line center. But it's going to be a 1A, 1B, right? Like whether it's Doc or whether it's somebody else that they're going to have to bring in, if Doc is not going to meet that potential. If you have two 75 or 70 centers, 70-point centers, that's a
that's
very
perfect.
competitive team. I
I
think
mean,
that's where Montreal.
look at when Colorado had McKinnon and Kadri, and they were both performing very well as two centers.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah, but
McKinnon is a
McKinnon is
That's
not the same type of the
no,
Suzuki.
no.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not a bad thing to have
No.
a highly played player as your second centerman, as
I
long
look at
as
St.
the
Louis,
ice
right?
time
Like
is there.
they had Ryan O'Reilly, right, and they had Luke Shen, or sorry, not Luke Shen, Brady Shen, and then they had Rob Thomas. Is it Rob Thomas?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Robert Thomas. Yeah.
yeah, Robert Thomas. So that was their center line, right? So you don't really have an elite 100-point guy there, but you're sending line after line of balanced, you know, two-way
Attack.
players. I think that's what Montreal is building, unless they're able to, like, again, would you ideally like to have an Austin Matthews, a Connor McDavid, a Connor Bedard? Sure, every team would like to have that, but there's only like what, 5 or 6 of them in the entire league, right? So we just don't have a guy like that, unfortunately. So are you just
Yeah.
going to give up?
Yeah.
No, you're gonna use the resources that you have, and you're going to build a team that you think can win. There's not just one way to win a Stanley Cup. Vegas taught us that. Vegas taught us that you don't just, there's other ways to win a cup other than just drafting and developing. You could trade your way into and sign UFAs your way into winning a cup. So Montreal is going to need to do that. I think these contracts in 3 years are going to be just fine. I have no worries. I don't think they're overpaid. If Caulfield is scoring 35, 40 goals at $8 million a year, and if Suzuki is a first line centerman that gets you 75 points and is a plus player on a winning team, I don't think there's going to be any issues there at all.
Yeah. They just don't have that first
When the St. Louis
line
Blues
center yet.
win the Stanley Cup, they have 10 forward winning minimum of 10 goals.
That's what we're
Right.
going to need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
It's
don't
the
have those
depth that you're going to
right
need,
now in the lineup
Oh, we
for
don't.
Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
and that's why we're not in the
And
playoffs.
we have that
in
year,
position.
Alex Pietrangelo, 16 goals as a defenseman. And the second goal defenseman with more goals, it was Perenko at 10 goals on that year, too. We don't have those kind of defensemen in Montreal right now.
I
Not yet.
think we're getting there,
Eventually we
Coach.
will.
I
Yeah.
think I think the decor, I think Gouli can score 10 goals. Depending on how things go.
But who
Like
can play
Darren,
with Pietrangelo? Like, we don't have those kind of defensemen. Like,
you don't. Gouli's in
you guys, you can give me a lot, but they have too many holes and that thing right now.
Yeah.
And if Ski become a second center with Caulfield and both of them carry on $8 million, that would tell me right now you have to pay your top line with other players at $9-10 million. The structure of the template of the salary cap will be really tough. It will be exactly what we're doing right now. Gallagher playing on the third line at 6.5. That's supposed to happen. You're going to have Ski Caulfield play on the second line at $8 million. That's not supposed to happen. At the template.
No, but hopefully you're going to have right now.
Why is Suzuki playing on your second line?
Because he cannot carry on the first line, Marko. He's 24 years old, carrying 66 points.
Okay. Well,
and you don't show to me this year is going to be a guy who can hit 80 points. You cannot win Stanley Cup at 75 points. You need to have to be sure you have a 90 point. A guy can score 35 goals, 45 goals per season. If you don't have those kind of play guys, you have to be sure you have a 4-line defense. 4 exactly line can balance. We don't have those kind of play right now.
Well, not right now, but that's what they're building.
Just complicate the things. And they put the energy to thinking Sapkowski Coffee is going to be that kind of plus. And I don't think so. They're going to reach that level right now.
I don't think
so. That's why
the kitchen next year and 2 years. But right now, that's
I don't think there's a lot of people right now that have any illusions that Suzuki is going to be as productive as Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid. Like, I don't think anybody thinks that. So again, it's like you wish that we can try to dream our way into, we wish we had these kinds of players or whatever. Yeah. But these are the players that they have. But that doesn't mean that you can't build a championship team, Coach. It just means that you have
there's many different ways. Yeah, you have to be creative. And it will happen, but it takes time. That's why, the other day I said, 7 to 8 years is not everybody kind of laughed and said, well, what happened to the 5-year plan? Well, you can be improving in that time. But by the time you're a serious contender to go deep into the playoffs, you're going to have built quite a repertoire of players, because one or two players alone does not do it. You can even, and Edmonton's been the perfect example of that over the last couple of years. It's the core that you have to build around those key players. If eventually they can make Suzuki, like I know what you're saying, Marco, with Boston's example and having him on the first line. But if imagine if you can afford to put Suzuki on your second line, and you have a true number one center that has even just a little bit more size and ability, like, it's going to be a team that's going to be very hard to stop.
Yeah, I just don't see them being able to acquire an elite center. Like what you
It's
really
going to
hope for
take.
right
Who make
It's
the
going to take.
playoff last
Sorry,
year?
Marco. It's
Who
going to
make the
take.
playoff
It's
last
going to
year?
take.
The final Stanley Cup. Who make it? Florida,
Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
Jack Eichel,
Vegas.
Alex
Yeah.
Colangelo. Do we have
Yeah.
those kind of players?
Yeah.
We don't. Florida,
No, that's my point.
Barkov,
But
Barkov, right? We don't.
yeah,
That's my
I
point
understand.
here. Until we don't get those kind of players, we're not going to get. And that's not Suzuki is
but
going to
that's
be that kind of players. That's my point
and
behind
it's
that.
not going to happen.
Skated.
It's not going to happen overnight. That's the
Well,
issue.
but Intertap, it might
It's a
not happen at all. It might not happen at all. Like let's be honest, guys. Like, unless they finish in the bottom five again, or draft first overall in the next couple of years, I don't think that's going to happen, guys. Like, I think they might draft in the top 10 this year based on how things are looking. I don't think they're going to be
Yeah.
bottom five. They're not going to be like a lottery team or one with very good odds, right? So what are the odds that they're going to draft an elite center Barkov kind of player? It's not going to happen.
But they could
It
trade
just
for him.
well,
Right?
good.
The year before that, guys. The year before that. Colorado visit Tampa Bay. Final Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Right? Before that was Tampa Bay. Oh, Montreal Canadiens. Oh, that's maybe another subject for another time. Before that, Tampa Bay, Dallas Star. Look who they have there. Before that, it was the St. Louis Blues we talk about, and then the Boston Bruins on that year over there. So
Boston
before
Bruins.
that, Washington, Vegas, and then after that, it was Pittsburgh and Nashville. But if you can tell me, oh, they don't have that. You see, you have Matthew, they don't make the playoff. Of course, right? You're going to give me always an exception. But my point, guys, I'm telling you right now, I can do some stuff for the top four, final four at the end of each year. I promise you one thing. They have a center, they have a defenseman, they usually have a good goaltender. And they have those kind of quality player around, maybe a winger who can score 40 goals. We don't have
Look,
those kind of players right now.
if you're not
Inside
strong down the middle,
Montreal
coach,
Canadian prospect or the Montreal Canadian lineup right now in the roster. I don't see one of them right now to become that kind of players I'm talking about.
So
if you're not
I've said
strong
this
down the
before,
middle,
right?
you're not going to go far.
No. So I think it's Brian Wild who's famous for saying win the middle, win a champion, win the middle, win the game, or something like that. I agree, 100%. But again, like, having strength down the middle doesn't necessarily mean you have to be top heavy in the middle either. It doesn't mean you have like 120-point center that plays on your first line, and then a 50-point center that is kind of not really good playing, two-way hockey on your second line, and then it really drops off either. I would rather have
Marco, about that, Marco. But right now, who do you have over Suzuki?
Okay, well that's so okay. So let's look at what's being built here, right? So you've got Suzuki.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, let's be fair. They're projecting that Suzuki is going to be a 75-point player who's a good two-way player. Now, he needs to prove that. I'm not saying he's proven it yet, but I think we can all reasonably believe that he has the potential to be a 75, 80-point player that can play a good two-way game. So then they're hoping that Doc is going to be maybe a 65, 70-point guy who could also play a good two-way game. And then you have different options that are coming up for a third line center. You're hoping that Beck comes in. That's probably the biggest prospect that they have as a centerman in the pipeline right now. But I agree, they could use another third line guy, and then fourth line guy. That's where you can get a utility guy, right? Like, you can get a more veteran player. That's a rental player that you can kind of bring in every year. your bottom six, you can kind of like retool as you need to, right? But really, it's your first, third line centers. They're going to need to be like a 75, 75, and 40 to 50 point guy. If you're bringing that kind of center line moving forward, I think
Yeah,
you
you're
have a
fine.
yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Especially depends how you play. Like really, the Habs have really invested most of their draft capital on defensemen, right? So maybe St. Louis is going to really like what wins championships, guys? Defense, right? So maybe Montreal is going to become more of like a lockdown type of defensive team. Like I know St. Louis likes to play puck possession game and everything, but at the end of the day, he has to play with the types of players, the team that he has,
With
right?
the talent he has. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not only that, but you've built up that strength on defense. You're
you
gonna
can
have
move
to
it.
make hard decisions. Nobody wants
Yeah,
to give away like a Harris or a Gooley or even a Jack Eye, since we've been talking about him. But you know what?
Matheson.
If the return, yeah, Matheson eventually, but if the return it benefits the team down the road, then it's an area of consideration because you have other players that will be filling in those spots and on the correct side as well, like Reinbacher and Hudson and Engstrom eventually. So it's a big price to pay, but if it addresses an area of need, and we're saying where are we going to get the centerman, maybe that's what you do.
See the
All
way
right.
the coach. Just one last thing, coach. Like the way that you describe it, it reminds me of like a paint by like what you're describing. It's almost like a paint by numbers, right? Like so, remember those like old things where there's like numbers and you have to paint by number. Like there's not just one way to do something. It's not like a model plane where there's you can only take these parts and move it in there, and that's the only way to build something. There's a lot of different ways to build a winning team, right? Like and like what it comes down to in the playoffs is a group of guys that want to, kind of play the right way and win together. Now, you need enough talent to do that, right? But I think there's different ways to do it.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
agree.
It's complicated. Inconsistency, start game first period, special team power play, a PK. It's complicated. 5 versus 3, 5 versus 4, 4 versus 3, name it. Create a +1, 6-5, whatever they do, they don't score the goal. And I don't put the goal for. I think their goal for is 2.71, I believe they are. It's complicated offensive side overall. So what do you
Yeah,
expect they have to do to improve their inconsistency, start the game first period?
You
they're
know what?
30.
It's. Sorry, go ahead.
I say they're last in the league for goals in the first period. That's got to
Yeah.
improve, right? Like it's it's definitely a problem. Like again, coach, it's like to me, and the second periods are not really that great either. Like they're not really great with the long changes, but their productivity.
I think if I was to refer Marco, they are the bottom of NHL for the most goals for in first period.
I think they're in last in the NHL for goals in the first period, zero.
Yeah,
Like they're 32nd overall. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's got to improve. Obviously, like being the worst in the league at something is a dubious honor that you don't want to see happen too often.
yeah.
So to me, it like I don't I the my philosophy, coach, I don't think that coaches can, sometimes they like people criticize a coach, oh, like, it's the coach's fault if the team's not ready in the first period. I don't believe that. I think the coaches give all the resources and everything that the players need. It's the player's responsibility to be prepared mentally to perform right away. So to me, this is the problem. This is why I haven't been happy with. Again, we've seen the standard of where they can be. I'm not seeing that. And again, consistency is one thing, like, but reasonable consistency, like consistency to be like a winning franchise, is one level. Right now, we're not seeing. I think an acceptable amount of consistency to even as professionals. I question some of these players have not really been that professional, in their approach here. Like, and that's problematic. That's why, coach, I was saying about merit, right? Like that's why I want to see Yolonen play more, and I want to see St. Louis starting to make personnel decisions that are based on merit, because if these things start really seeping into the culture here, where players still get ice time even though they're not really playing the right way, then we're going to start turning into the Buffalo Sabres. We're going to start turning into the Edmonton Oilers for many, many years, and teams like that. And that is absolute the worst thing that you want for a rebuild, is a culture of, like a country club kind of environment. That's the worst thing that you want. And sometimes that's what happens with a player's coach. Like, we love St. Louis, he's a great teacher, but he's going to have to be careful with that, because that's one of the worst things that could happen. So
Well said.
consistency, commitment. There's got to be commitment by the players.
So good, Mr. Enortap. Glad you don't go and talk about this. we have other things to talk about, and they're going to give you the next one. It's complicated, Mr. Enortap. Too many D. Who is out?
Yeah, sure. You save that one for me. Oh man, who's going to be out? I don't know. It's hard to gauge right now. Like it might have to be somebody going back down to Laval. I hate to say Struble, but because he's been playing so well. I mean, when you look at it on the surface, you might say, you know what, possibly can a team that gets hungry enough and is making the playoffs and wants to go a little bit further and wants, that second line defenseman that's going to be a good, steady, stay-at-home defenseman and do his job properly. Savard fits that bill. Will Montreal let that go and be more inexperienced on the blue line? I don't know. Next year, I think that's a definite possibility for him. But for this year, I'm not so certain. Here comes a situation where, you know what? Let's suppose a team comes along right now and offers you something very good for Matheson, and you can make the package whatever way you want. But they're going to take Matheson and relieve him so that now you can complement the defense with the ones that are supposed to be coming up, like a Jackeye or whatever, and keep Struble here as well. Again, if it fills a need up front, you have to consider it. As well as Matheson has been playing offensively, and he brings that experience with him. He's not Bobby Orr either. So it's something that you have to put on the plate and say, maybe we go this direction. This is yet another way in which I can improve the team and fill in the gaps that I need to fill in. So it is complicated, but it's not unsolvable.
That's interesting about that. Remember, guys, we're going to have the next couple of weeks Aris back in the lineup.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, so that put out Lindstrom and Nylander, right? So they're not there. I'll give now 7D with Struble and Aris, and then you still have Jackeye at the Laval.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a rotation, like assuming that Struble maintains this level of play. I wouldn't be surprised if they rotate Harris and Jackeye as a 7th D, just like not to have one person sitting in the stands for too long. They just kind of keep moving them up and down to give some of them some exposure so that they don't they're not inactive for too long. And then, coach, we can't forget injuries, right? Like, there's always going to be injuries, so that could free up some space. It makes too much sense to trade Matheson. For me, there's no question that if there's a good return for him, there's no question that you make that happen. But guys, like, wouldn't that be weird that they made Matheson an assistant captain this summer and then they move him? Wouldn't that what does that show you about their long term? Like, if that was their plan that they were going to move Matheson, and by the way, it's possible. Like, if you look at the TSN trade bait list, I was surprised, but Matheson is, I think, in the top 10.
He's there, yeah,
he's on. So, could it happen? Yes, but let's say it does, and I think it should. I think that if they can get something for him, they absolutely should. But what does it say about the long-term planning of the leadership plan that they have there? Like, why would they have made him an assistant captain if they were planning on moving him at the deadline?
Yeah, but sometimes those plans change, Marco, depending on the situation and what it dictates for the team. Like if this is an opportunity that comes up, it's not like Wayne Gretzky as a captain got traded, out of Edmonton. I know there's many extenuating circumstances to it, and there's a lot more to it than just trading him. But there's other players like Tavares got moved, and okay, he was going to he was a free agent, so that's not a fair comparison. But there's been others that have been in that situation, and I think you have to make those hard decisions that are based on what is best for your team. It wasn't your intention in the beginning. You looked highly on Matheson. You got him, I think, in a fantastic trade that brought you some stability on
Who
your
take
blue
the
line.
spot of Madison? Who can play like Madison does? Who
It
can
doesn't
carry
matter
on
for this
25
year,
minutes a plus right now for the Montreal Canadiens?
but does it matter for this year, Coach? It's not like
It's
we're chasing a playoff spot.
That's what matter for the Montreal Canadiens.
And
Because
don't
now you
forget,
But
expose
they
Coley,
will.
you expose young defensemen to play hard minute where they cannot do it, handle. So
Right.
that's the reason.
But
That's the reason why they protect the basement, the foundation. That's they don't trade Anderson, Gallagher, Devorak, Sabal, Allen, because they need veterans around. And if you remove a guy, you cannot. Anybody can pick up his spot, play at least a minute. That's the reason they keep him.
but Matheson shouldn't be playing 25 minutes anyways. Like
But we
he's
don't
not
have
he's
anybody else, Marco.
you
it's
don't
not a
play
true.
anybody
That's
25,
just my point here.
then you don't play somebody 25 minutes. You don't. You play a more balanced set of pairs of D. Like you spread it out a little bit more. And coach, don't
Your
forget they're going.
top four should be equal, just about equal in
Yeah,
minutes. Your
you
top
just don't
four.
ride somebody. You just don't ride somebody 25 minutes. Like it's not written anywhere that you have to play somebody 27 minutes a game. That's a choice. And don't forget, coach, they're going to sign Hudson, to an entry level contract at the end of the season. That's another spot. He's going to play some games at the end of the year, so they're going to have to clear some players out. There's no question. Like it's
Yeah,
you
but
know
you
the,
don't trade Madison. That's my point. You can trade Cole, whatever they are, but you don't trade Madison right away because
you
you have
trade
nobody
Gooley.
can pick his spot.
You would trade Gooley over Matheson.
No, no, no. I just meant like I mentioned, like anybody, like Harris, whatever they are. It's not matter.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but
next
that's like
year, are you going to
yeah.
start with Coley? You feel comfortable to start with Coley, Hudson, and
No, but you might
Struggle?
address it you might address that during the summer though. But if right now he brings you back an important piece that fills a void on the team, I say you do it. You do it. I know it's not ideal. You're right. I agree with that. But if it's something that you can address over the summer, a cheap free agent that will come and just give you some experience and stability on the blue line from an experience point of view, then I think I think you owe it to yourself as a GM
But
to do
that
that.
thing about this, who can you find a defenseman in NHL can play 22 minutes, 23 minutes, and can play the role of Mike Madison? You already have him. Why you
But you
want
don't
to
want to
trade
play them.
him, and now
You
you're
don't
going
want to
to
play them
pay a
24.
second round pick or another prospect to get already what you have? For me, it's not. I
No,
don't see the value of that. If you have your own player inside your organization, I can understand that. Like the fact like they put out Romanov because they have goalie. Makes sense. So they move out that you have
yeah,
already
yeah,
in.
I understand that, Coach. I guess my point is they're not going to go anywhere this year. Agreed on that, like in terms of a playoff
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
So if an opportunity presents itself, I think you owe it to yourself to at least explore it and see if it fills a much needed void that we need up front, then it's something that you need to do. You can always, like I said, you can always I think your top 4 defensemen should be around the same ice time, pretty much. Maybe your first 2 a minute or so, a minute and a half more, but overall they shouldn't be relied upon for 25, 26 minutes. Not until you get that kind of a defenseman, the all-star type of which Matheson is not. He's not. He's not a Quinn Hughes or a Makar or somebody like that. So you're not going to put that onus on him. I think it sort of slows down his game as well. Like he's more effective when he's played 20, 21, 22 minutes max.
Bottom line, guys, is we can agree that they're going to have to move at minimum 2 of these left-hand D men.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, Marco. But I would not trade Madison.
But that's what gets you something.
Because I don't feel comfortable. The people say, "Oh, we have Jekai and we have Harris." So you want to have your 3 players defensemen, Kenan Cooley, Jordan Harris, and Albert Jekai. This is going to be your 3 left D.
Yep, that's the future. Yeah, like that's the future for sure.
Right now, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But
so
eventually, you'll have Hudson, you'll have Reinbacher.
Like the future in the next couple of years is you got Gooley, Hudson, and then you can have a debate whether it's Jack Struble or Harris on your left side. Now again, like 2, you can probably the deepest pool, and then you have other guys down there too, right? But you're gonna have to you can liquidate 2 of those guys, and you can go sign a veteran 28-year-old D-man that's like a stay-at-home defenseman that can play good defensive minutes.
When the time is right.
Or you can do that if you decide to trade Harris or Jack or whoever else. You can, in the offseason, you can go sign a guy that can play 20 minutes, play a solid, kill penalties, do all that stuff. Hudson's going to take your power play, things like that, right? So, and then on the right side,
and we haven't talked about Milo either.
Well, Mayu is a right-handed defenseman, right? So you've got Mayu, you've got Reinbacher, and you've got Barron, right? So and then you have Savard. So you keep Savard. I think Savard is the guy that you keep for that veteran. And then next year, depending on kind of where you land on what pieces that you end up moving, maybe you end up going to sign or trade for another more experienced left-handed defenseman.
Well, Marco, you cannot trade for a left defenseman. Again, we have about 19 in the garage waiting for the spot.
Okay.
So why do you want to bring Benson example when you have Harris, Norlander, Struble, Hudson, Engstrom, who I miss something. Cooley is over there. And
yeah. Well, to your point, Coach, if you don't want to have too many young D-men playing all at the same time, then I'm not saying you sign a left-handed defenseman to a 5-year, $50 million contract. You bring in a guy that comes in for a year, like a Savard, right? Like a 20.
My point behind that, Marco, is we don't have anyone can take the spot on Madison right now. This is my point behind that.
What spot is that, though? Like, what role specifically? Power play?
On the minute he played 25, 27, 29 minutes.
Okay. But I'm saying you don't have to play a guy 25, 27 minutes. You don't have to. That's
play 20 minutes. Play 122 minutes. Power play. Who do you use on power play?
Hudson.
Eventually,
no, he's not there, Hudson. We just trade Mike Madison tonight. We don't have late Hudson.
I said before the end of this year. Well, you can play. I don't care about this year that much, Coach. Like you can play Barron on the first unit power play for the rest of this year. We'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that's my point. Like the expectations aren't there right now. You want to see what you have with the young core.
I'm Nick Ziski, a cold coffee, and I'll sit in the locker room and I said, "Oh, they trade Mike Madison, and now we have to play with Justin Barron and Jaden Struble." The message you deliver, always be careful about what you bring and when you move or not. Because the player pick it up. The player are smarter.
Yeah, but
now
what they're also going to pick up is
telling to the player right now, you know what? We're not a good team right now here. We just deliver it. We're going to give up everybody else.
No, coach. You're forgetting one part of the equation here. Yeah, a player might say, "Oh, we got rid of Matheson. What message does that bring?" But what if you're bringing in a bigger piece up front and saying, "Wow, we brought in a very good winger
Who do
right
you
now that
get
can
in
put
return
in."
for Mike Madison? They expect Rantanen?
Okay, no, but maybe you can package something together that could make sense. A team that really desperately,
Hey,
like, look
Mike
at
Madison,
Toronto.
guys, is second
Toronto,
pairing in NHL. Don't expect a first round pick in return.
If you package
if
Mike
he's
Matheson,
second,
if you package Mike Matheson with a first round pick, you might get a good forward piece back, a winger, a good winger. I think you could.
yeah, I think so too.
Okay, so
I
we
think
get
there.
example. Go get any player you get forward, great forward. Now you're going to get a your back, Kaden Cooley, Jekai, and then you have Strubble.
Yep.
Put Harris if you
Yeah.
want to.
Yep.
Okay.
This is what you. So you just unbalance again everything.
Well, coach, you just said that
You
you don't want to
face
go
your
But
player
it
right
doesn't
now at
matter.
a young age to give minute to face to the competition. You're going to be worse.
in the short term, yeah, in the short term for sure. But
And that's okay.
what,
And that's okay
what's the
for now.
alternative, coach? Yes, you want to give a lot of these guys. Like, I'm not saying all these guys have to go directly into the NHL. A lot of them, maybe they play in Laval for 2 years, right? Like that's what good teams have. They sometimes it takes a couple of years for them to play in the AHL before they. But there's so many left-hand defensemen. There's too many. There's going to be like 5 quality left-hand defensemen. You're going to be playing them in the ECHL. Like, there's just too many. So you have to move some around. So coach, when I presented an alternative, which is, okay, you don't want too many young left-hand D, then you go and you sign a veteran left-hand D for 1 or 2 years. Don't break the bank or whatever. Just somebody that can come in, kill penalties, be a good guy in the room, play 18 minutes a game.
David
And
Savard.
yeah, but a left-handed David Savard,
Yeah.
right? You bring
That's
that
what you
in
talk
for
about.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah, you bring
exactly.
that in for next
Exactly.
year. Power play again, you see what Hudson is next year. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He's going to play probably maybe 10 games or whatever for Montreal this year at the end of the year. We'll see how he does in training camp. If he's ready, I think it would be smart to play him in Laval for at least a year and see how he does. But worst case, you bring in a free agent, or you give Barron an opportunity to play power play. Jacky, if he's in the lineup, he's played some power play. Again, he's not. We don't, other than Hudson, we don't have a quarterback for the power play on defense. Hudson is the only guy in the pipeline that is maybe going to be that. Matheson is not that. We know that Matheson is not that. So we're not losing that much in that perspective. And coach, to your idea that, well, who's going to play 25 minutes? Well, I think it would be great if I don't want a defenseman to play 25 minutes, if possible, 23 minutes as your top pairing guy, and you have that balance.
So
until
why the reason he played 27 minutes, 26?
Well, that's a coaching decision.
That's a good question.
But that's easy. We don't
Martin
have
St.
enough
Louis.
talent. That's simple. We don't have enough depth behind him. That's simple. So you guys, you want to give the depth we have. The only one can carry the minute. You want to give up and to bring 3 players behind him, and they cannot play because they just prove it to you. They cannot play 20 minutes per game, guys.
No, but the issue here is you have to look at it more holistically. Like, we're building towards something. We're not building for something right now.
Called transition.
Would you agree with me that? Would you agree with me that in 3 or 4 years, Matheson will have nothing to do with this team?
Yeah, you will be gone.
Right.
Because you need transition in Enortap. Like you need Jake Allen. That's what you need David Savard. That's what you need the Vorak. That's what Monahan. This is a transition period. If you eliminate them in Enortap, now you're going to get only young team. This is going to hurt. That's my point behind that.
But what I'm saying, coach, is that I think it all depends on what is being offered for Matheson. I'm not saying they have to trade Matheson at any cost.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If there's really good value. Like, again, if you're at the draft this summer, and because I don't think they're going to trade Matheson this year. If anything, it would be this summer, I think. But let's say you're at the draft and somebody, has like a really,
A top heavy team.
a
A
winger,
top heavy team.
they have somebody that maybe has a team like has like a quality scoring winger that's available. Okay. And and you can maybe get Matheson and a first for like a top 6 scoring winger. That's like not like, it's like 26 years old, 27 years old or something like that. Yes,
You
then
do
for
it.
sure. Like, it doesn't I'm not saying exactly that, but if you can build something around Matheson like that, or if you get like another, again, like a new hook or something like that, somebody that can come in and fit into your plan, a good asset that fits into your plan, even if you have to add to do that, then for sure you do it. If you're only getting a second round pick, then yeah, I agree. You don't need to do
No.
it. He's a good guy. He wants to be there. Like, it's not like I'm not hammering on Matheson. Like, he's playing too many
That's why
minutes.
that's why the show was the word complicated.
It is complicated.
It is. And you threw it at me.
Here we go, guys. We're going to skip that one with that.
Okay.
World Junior Championship, real quickly, guys. Beck, Mezar, Hudson, Fowler are the 4 prospects from Montreal Canadiens. We're going to hear a little bit more the next at the end of the week who's going to make it. We know Hudson, Beck, Mezar. Fowler is going to make it, but it'll be interesting. He's going to be the goaltender number 1, number 2. So that's the only thing we want to talk about this. App preview for the week, guys. We're going to go on that direction. Montreal play only 2 weeks, 2 games, so we have a really easy game. We are off tomorrow night, no show tomorrow night, so just let you know the people about that. Pittsburgh Wednesday, Saturday Islanders, guys. Every time I turn my head to look at Enortap and Marko, then I turn my TV, you have a goal.
Connor, guys, can we just talk about Connor?
Calgary Flame right now. And
can we talk about Connor Zary in Calgary, man? Wow, that kid is ripping it up for Calgary. My God, why can't we have like a guy just come in and have an immediate impact like that? I like such a good little player.
Yeah. And now we go another conversation. The time is too complicated, Marco. About that, Marco, congratulations, run with Kings. Justin Laframboise. I believe it's Justin Laframboise. I put a G and then I put a little bit sign. I cannot recognize that one of there. So I look around. Gary Conway was not there. Gary, it was, and GSM was 211. Gary Conway, it was at 212. So I did not get you guys. So congratulations, Martin. Justin Framboise, I believe, and run with Kings are the winner. This week, guys, only 2 games. This is my question of that. I'm going to make another way tonight. I want to know the number of the point. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Total. So we don't have to give me 110. Only the total of the points. So that will be a little bit different. I'll be, different. Maybe I would give me a chance to win about that. So we'll see about this. What we got this weekend. This week is the winner, and we play here like a golfer. So let's start it with Marco.
Yeah. So I'll work backwards. So the Islanders first of all, I don't think we match up well against the Islanders. They're just such a well-structured team. Based on kind of what we saw against LA, like I just don't see us matching up well against a team like that. Like they just grind you down. So I don't see us getting any points out of that game unless they play. But even with Varlamov, right? Like either of their goalies are going to be really difficult to play against. So I don't see us getting points out of that game. Pittsburgh is really struggling right now, but to me, that seems like that would be a really desperate team. But Montreal and Crosby just never seems to play well against Montreal. Montreal definitely has Pittsburgh numbers, so that's a tough one because my gut always tells me that we have a chance to beat Pittsburgh, but I just find it hard to believe Pittsburgh is going to be so desperate for some points here. So I'm going to say 0, Coach. 0 points.
Ooh.
It's only 2 games, right? Only 2 games.
Yeah, it's only 2 games, but yeah. I'm going to say, well, I would think on any given night, I think Montreal plays very well against Pittsburgh. The
Yeah.
fact that the night before Pittsburgh is playing against
Oh.
Arizona,
Ooh,
Arizona's
okay.
going to give them a hard time, and I think they want those 2 points uh, ensured right away. So they might play Jari, which would mean
Mm,
that the next night they might go with Nadaljevic, who's not
mm,
been playing so well. So I think Montreal can steal the 2 points there, and then
mm.
I think we have a similar situation. Let me just check the schedule here. Yeah, you see, the Islanders are going to play a tough game the night before against Boston. Um, but the positive thing there is, I mean, whether you throw in Sorokin or even Varlamov, both of them could do well. Uh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with 3 points. I think Montreal's in a
Oh.
good position. They'll have rest. They're playing at home. The Islanders are traveling, so they might win at the Islanders, but it'll take them overtime, just like every other game so far this year. If they always go to overtime, so why not Montreal?
That's great to
Mm.
hear that. GSM, how many points? I pretty good. I get pretty good the people in the chat, but I think I'm missing.
I
Maybe
think
GSM.
based
I
on
have to
if I
go.
read,
Oh, 0 point GSM. All right, GSM zero
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Apologize about that one there. I have to go all the way.
But the
Habs Nation, I
facts
got
and
you. Aden Bianco, I got you. Gary Conway, I got you. Uh, uh, there we go. Merci, merci. So that go all the way back over there. I go back down. And Nicholas, how many points, Nicholas? Maybe RJ, how many points? RJ at the same time. So that's what we got so far. A pretty good show. Unfortunately, we don't have locker room show this week. Wednesday, Montreal play Pittsburgh. So we're not going to get there. We're going to be back normal schedule next week, guys. It'll be Sunday night. I know Sunday night is a bit difficult with Marco. Hopefully, you're going to find the time. Glad, Mr. Marco, you.
Wait a minute, Coach. You didn't give us your points.
Oh, it's easy, Mr. Enortap. I gave you 2 points.
2 points. Okay.
Yeah,
So we're not that far off. Three.
yeah, yeah. Nicholas go with 1 point, Mr. Enortap. Nicholas 1 point. And Joe Manella, fight 3. Joe Manella, 0 point. GSM, I got you. Joe Manella gave us your number, the point for the Montreal Canadiens. And don't forget to click on the likes. That'd be awesome. 5-3 Calgary Flame, guys. Again, the color of it ends.
hey, coach, can we have a side wager of does Caulfield score a goal this week? Yes or no?
Enortap.
I have thumbs up. Thumbs up. Yes, he will.
Scoring over time.
Possibly. We didn't specify where, or when, but he'll
And
score.
then he's going to score another goal. I will give you 2. And that will give
Wow.
2 goals for Caulfield, but one of them is a last game. Again, I'm really more worried about the Islanders, the Pittsburgh.
I would be as well. I would be as well, and I think they'll still win the Islanders. But
I
they're
watched
going to
the
have
game
their hands
tonight in
full
our
the night
tap.
before.
I didn't. I watched the game Islanders tonight. I watched them like a flash left and right, during the season. But I didn't
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really. But tonight, oof,
They're good.
they are well balanced. The speed. Julien Gauthier, guys, did you see that? His speed of Julien Gauthier is what 6'3", 6'4", and you talk about Josh Anderson. I would like to have a race between both of them. That would be really interesting how they're going to get there. And we'll go through,
If they ever
guys,
get
over
their
2 hours.
goaltending-
We want to thank Mr.
If they-
Altap and Mr. Marco. We have some kind of push now the last couple of minutes between Calgary and Colorado. But as I mentioned, Cole Caulfield did twice this week.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
You have greatness inside of you, both of you. Thanks so much to be with us tonight. We thanks all the moderator. We want to thank Mr. Archie Calabo with all information. And everybody that was in the chat tonight. Thanks to click on the likes. And don't forget to be back Wednesday night for another game, Montreal Canadiens versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, 7 o'clock Eastern time. We'll see if how many power play attempts Pittsburgh has right now, straight with 0 goals.
Ooh, terrible.
More than Montreal.
Unbelievable.
How many, Marko?
How many power play attempts? We'll say 4.
No, how many power play goals they have Pittsburgh right now with 0 goals at that moment?
32?
I think it's a little bit less. 27.
36.
36. Okay.
Yeah. We can give them Josh Anderson. Maybe that will helping them during the power play next time. Everybody, be well, be find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what?
You're 23.
And Marko will say to us, Je me souviens. Have an amazing great night, everybody. I will see you next time. And the Habs Nation and Hockey Nation show 1 to 10 Wednesday. We love you, people. Have a great night, both of you.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night, guys.
Have a good night. Booyah!